Well, it's a damp evening, but I wanted to finish the video, or in fact begin the video, haven't decided which end of it is going to appear, of talking about trail riding and the enjoyment of it. It's well worth considering whether you need a specialist bike, which may prove on the road to be somewhat sluggish. I used the specialised Cirrus, and I've got a couple of these. Bought them up second hand, and they're actually a rather good bike. You're somewhat restricted with the rear wheel, the rear tyre width. I think that's about 32, but it depends on the rim that you're using and the make of tyre and the width of tyre. But about a 32 fits in, and on the front I use a 37 because the forks allow it. That does soften the shocks a bit, so it's well worth sort of adapting a road bike and then using it off trail. The advantages are that when you find quiet lengths of country road, you can make good speed on it without the effort that you would on a bike that's primarily off-road orientated. I hope the video has given you some idea, and really, like many things, it's actually going out and doing it rather than overspending and looking for specifications that are well beyond necessity. Weight, what group set. My experience has been even the cheapest of group sets are reliable, and rather than replacement parts, you can replace the whole component. The bottom bracket on the bike, as I've mentioned on the other videos, I use a mud flap on the front with a mud guard on the front of the bicycle and the rear. By keeping the dirt off of the drive chain, you will get a considerable life. Huge amounts of mileage on the bike. It's unnecessary to go to belt or anything other that's complicated. Enclosed rear gears, it's a fallacy. I think it's rather like a better mousetrap. If you've got something that's simple, that works, is easy and cheap to find components to replace, there is no need. The rear wheel on the bike I have used on trails for thousands of miles. The wheel is still true, it's worn on the rim by the friction of the brake blocks, but it is still true, still reliable. It's a 36 spoke. Reducing it to 32 or even lower, you're just looking for problems. It is far better to buy a replacement £50 wheel than have someone true it and give you a bill for the same amount. That's my opinion. Machine made wheels are far more accurate and reliable than paying a huge amount for someone to spin one up. You can really disappear up your proverbial when you start looking at what is the best, and that is always subjective. Hope it's given you an insight. Hope you can be able to go out and enjoy some cycling. Thank you for watching. Bye. I'll just adjust the line so that you can see the trajectory from the front wheel, that mud and dirt which is thrown up doesn't come into contact with the cassettes or the chain, and that the mud guard on the rear wheel protects the chain set. If you can arrange this on your bicycle, you will get years and years of trouble-free cycling. I'll just say that the frame has not been washed. I don't wash the bike. After I return, if I'm at my house, it's moved into a warm room. Let's just raise this. It's moved into a warm room and it dries off. I don't spray it with water, I don't wash it. This has not been washed literally for years. Close up of the rear rim. The rear wheel I bought in France about 5 years ago, and the brake blocks, it uses brake blocks, and I select them, they're the cheapest ones I can buy, and I select them with my thumbnail using soft brake blocks. The wheel has lasted. It was an inexpensive wheel, it cost me €55, about £50. I've tightened the spokes or gone round. There's an occasional spoke that's slightly loose which I've nipped up. Apart from that, it's been incredibly reliable. I've not had to do anything, and a lot of the mileage I use it for is off-road. It's trail. I used it on 2 visits to Ukraine. I used it in South Italy as well. I have some videos posted showing my Ukrainian cycling and my South Italy cycling, primarily off the road because the roads are just so dangerous, and these show total reliability. The chain rings are the original, including the centre ring which I replaced a few years ago, along with the granny ring. But apart from that, I've not had to do anything. Totally reliable setup. So don't spend the money on vastly expensive, overpriced, better mousetrap concepts. You don't need it. Just go out and enjoy cycling. That's what it's about, not about the spending money. Here's a close-up of the rear derailleur. The mechanism itself is about 5 years old. I change the jockey wheels on it every 2 or 3 years. I just buy some cheap ones. But what I do is disassemble maybe twice a year, clean out the jockey wheels and re-grease the pivot points on it with synthetic grease. That makes them last. The chainring itself, well, the rear cassette, I replaced last year. The previous one had been on there for 3 years with the original chain. It's proven reliable. They're not the top of the range. They're all Shimano components. I'm quite a stickler for using Shimano. I found it to be very reliable and totally dependable.